thing I'm going to show you is how I adjust the tension. We adjust our tension on the roller by this little winding thing here. It comes out, we push it down, we push it up, and we can put more tension on it or less tension. The way I tend to do it is I get a MIG torch, pull the trigger, bend the wire so it won't stab my hand, and I let it walk around. That is getting a slight slip, so I'll just give it a bit more tension. Pull the trigger, let it wind around my hand. It's running nice and smooth now. So I'll just put a quarter turn and I've set my tension ready to weld. We're going to talk about the EZIMIG205C. It's one of the simplest machines to set up and to use in the marketplace today. We have a set of buttons down here. The first one is the function button, and that sets the parameters in behind the machine. I'll show them later on in the video. The next line down here is MIG mode, or we can stick it to arc welding mode, and this allows us to do arc welding and the running of arc welding electrodes. The next one down is the gas test button. This one here is pushed. We're able to allow the gas to flow, check our flow before we start welding. The line here we have inch button. The inch button allows the wire to feed, so we can get the wire through the gun at a quicker pace, and secondly it allows us to feed the wire without the gas flowing, so we don't waste any gas as we're feeding the wire through. We go up to here, we have 2T, 4T and spot time. 2T's where I can pull the trigger, release the trigger, and the machine will stop for me. In 4T I will pull the trigger, let the trigger go, the machine will keep going until I pull the trigger again and the machine will stop. Spot time, we can set a time that the tacks or the weld that we're doing exactly the same length, so we can get a consistency of the length of weld we want to do. I'm now going to talk about the parameters in behind the main screen, and we get to them by pushing this button here. The first one is pre-gas. This just allows time for the gas to flow before we start our welding. And when you adjust anything, we can adjust it by the knob on the right hand side, and I'm going to set this at about 0.5 of a second. The next parameter I'm going to adjust is post-gas. This allows the gas to flow at the end of the weld, and this protects the ball on the end of the wire and stops it from oxidizing. Again, 0.5 of a second is a good parameter to start with. The next one that's come up is soft start. This machine has a slow speed until we start the welding arc, and this helps at the starting. We can control this, it goes from 0 to 5. Again, a good starting point is around about 2. This is a personal preference adjustment that once you set it you can leave it alone. This one here is called burn back. This controls the distance that the wire will leave the weld pool when we've finished the welding. The higher we go, the closer the wire will burn back to the tip. A good starting point is about 3. The last one we have here is if we want to have a spool gun fitted, which we have a spool gun connection, we can turn the spool gun off or on. To get out of it and back to our main screen, we just push the button again, and away we're ready for welding. Now I'm going to talk about the spot time function. To get into the spot time function, we scroll down 2T, 4T, spot time. To get to the settings for the spot time function, we go back into our function button. We scroll through the parameters that we've already set until we come to the gap. This is the time that the weld will stay off when we're setting our spot time function, and we can adjust that to suit the job we want to do. And then we go in and we set the time that the weld will be on for. Again, this is depending on the job you're doing. Once you're finished, you go back and you push the function button, and again you're ready to weld. The next parameter I'm going to talk about is called inductance. We get to the inductance by pushing the button on the left hand side, letting it go, and it brings up the little inductance symbol. We go from -5 to 0 to +5. Inductance controls the explosion when the wire comes down and touches the job. With less inductance we have a bigger explosion. With more inductance we'll have a quieter explosion. a good rule of thumb is that we can go to the plus side when we're using smaller wires, or we can go to the negative side when we're using, say, gasless wire or flux cored wires or aluminium. It's a personal setting, but don't forget it's there. When we're finished making our setting, we push the button again and we're back to the front panel. I'm now going to set up the Strata EZIMIG for arc welding. First thing we do is we need to change the mode. So I'm going to push this button here and we get it into stick mode. It's come up with an open circuit voltage for me and an amperage. I can adjust the amperage to suit the electrode, and I read the packet to get the correct information to what I need to set it to. The next most important thing is that you need to read the packet again to tell you what polarity the handpiece and the earth go in. It's very important that we read this. I've read the packet and it tells me that electrode positive, so I need to put my electrode handpiece into the positive side. I then connect my earth into the negative side. As with any form of welding, we need to make sure that the earth has a really good contact with the workpiece so we can get a good arc start and a good arc run.